The Madman's back. Hey, everybody. DJ Raven the Devil here. Well, not DJ anymore. However, I'm going to be talking about some stuff related to DJ Raven the Devil today. Since you're here on my page, if you saw my last video, the one talking about the hero's journey, well, there's more to life than just running your mouth, except when you work in radio. And, I'm going to talk about how all that began. I figured, I did a video, I talked about stuff, and then I realized yesterday, thinking about what would be my next video. Aside from the fact, boy, did I use the wrong light. Well, we're going to talk about more of that in a minute. I'm Raven the Devil, former host of the Vault of Metal. And if you're here and you're watching the video, you found me through means or you know who I am. Either way, if you don't, I'm Raven the Devil, former host of the Vault of Metal radio show from 2004 to 2016, co-host of the Real Radio show from 2008 to 2010. I was the host of the Friday Night Party Machine for a couple of years, starting in 2005 through BC and IFM on KCHRN, I believe, out of Phoenix, Arizona. Not KCHRN, KQZX. Excuse me. See, when we get old, the brain starts to, the brain, it goes, yeah. Anyways, jokes. Anyways, so former host of the Friday Night Party Machine, as well as from 2014 to 2016, or 15 anyways, the Raven's Edge radio show over on the Wacko Radio Network on Blog Talk with my co-host there, Bodyguard Drew. Some of these tales are going to get started with this episode here today, so stick around if that seems interesting to you. I'm going to talk about internet radio circa 2003 to 2005. Still new to this thing on the video podcasting vlog thing, so bear with me, sitting in front of some of the memories of my time on the Vault of Metal. Well, not everything, but memories. Queensryche, King Diamond. Well, King Diamond right here. That actually is from the first Puppet Master tour when I went with Jeremy, at the time the moderator for the Dragon Knights KDMF forum before it became Covenant Worldwide, where I was a moderator with him, and kept the crowd off of Jeremy. Yeah, come on, Jeremy, you're going to have to respond to this video, okay? I know you're on my Facebook, and I'm not going to throw any under the bus, but yeah, that entire night, the crowd on the right-hand side was on my back, and I was holding these metal bars at Jack's. Sorry about the Bugs Bunny arms. I've just lost 300 pounds in the last couple of years. But, holding on to these metal bars they had at Jack's in Springfield, Massachusetts. Sorry, I have a four-legged interference. All right, come on. Come on. Don't be camera shy now. I'm already doing the video. Well, folks, you almost met one of the co-hosts of the current project with Raven the Devil, Vinny the Pitbull. He seems to not like the fact that I want to talk. Either come up, buddy, or... there we go. There we go. Meet Vinny, folks. Here you go. One of my children, if you will. Mine have all grown up and left the house, and now I have these creatures. I mean, look at how I'm being assaulted viciously. Anyways. So, here I am thinking, what would I do for my next show? And apparently I'm going to have a co-host for this entire thing. And, so I figured where better start than the beginning. Now, before I go from where I started in online radio in 2003, I should probably define what is in a name. I've done this on my blog over at the ravensedgeradioshow.com, which will be rebranding that channel soon. But you can go over there and check out the blog I have there and see what I've written there so far. Some of the topics I will flesh out further in video form. But this one here is how I got... the name Raven the Devil. So we're going to go way back in time now, kids. You might want to make some popcorn because this is going to go back before the millennium. 1995. Virtual places, chat rooms. Back before MSN, back before You've Got Mail. There was virtual places on GNN. And I was in there. And my nickname since the 80s was Raven. And online, there was about 5,000 of us. So I, being a 25-year-old smartass, thought I'd be cooler than everybody else and use Vampire Hunter D, Vampire Lestat, the Devil, and whatever other spooky metal type icons I could use. Why did I do this? At the time, I was actually trying to write a book, and when I got tired of looking at a word processor, I would go in chat rooms just to dick with people. That's what I did. Yes, I messed with people online. I used to be a troll, among other things. Anyhow, so I was in this chat room one day, and this girl in Malaysia contacts me. She's 18, going on 19. She's about to get married in an arranged marriage, explaining this is her culture, Muslim, I think. And I don't really remember all the fine details anymore, but I remember the result. See, I told her at 25, I was still in shape. I was still healthy. I was kind of angry and bitter coming out of a rather ugly relationship, which I'm sure I'll talk about at some point. And I wasn't exactly the nicest of people at this point in my life. Let's just say that. I went through people like potato chips. And I told her as much. It's like, look, you're barking up the wrong tree. I spend most of my time in tattoo shops and with heavy metal bands. You really don't want to talk to me. She insisted, thought I was interesting and fascinating. So I continued to be my smart-ass self and really twisted this up. And got a response eventually that made me laugh my fool head off that said, oh my God, my father's right. You Americans are the devil. Well, I'm a smartass, I think. And so I changed my screen name on Virtual Places to Raven the Devil. And not within 5 minutes, a lonely housewife. And these, yes, lonely housewives. They're friends of mine, again, on Facebook. Hopefully some of them will speak up. KP, if you're out there, you're in this story. These lonely housewives started hitting me up for cyber sex. Are you really a devil? Ooh, you're spooky. You know, I really creepy stuff. And I mean, I wouldn't get just one. I'd get like 10 of them at a time. And my roommate Carlos would come home. And he thought it was flipping hysterical. Now, KB, who was also my herbal medicine flower delivery guy, and he came over one day and we were telling him, he didn't believe it, so I logged in and showed him, and he thought it was hysterical. And that was the end of it. About a month later, it was Christmas. Now, when your herbal delivery man brings you a Christmas present, you open it right away. And contained within, some way, I'll have it hanging up here eventually framed, because it's holding on by about the 6 threads it's got left, a t-shirt. And on the front, in little cursive letters, it said Raven. I thought that was cool, and red, you know. I like black and red. Flip the bloody thing over, and in big football jersey letters, yay high, the devil. But when your flower herbal delivery man brings you a present, you change that name forever. And that's when I got Raven the Devil. Because the following 2 years, every time I wore that shirt, interesting shenanigans were afoot. So, a couple of years later, flash forward, I've gotten hurt in a car accident in 98. We'll talk about that one day. I don't want to hit you guys with 2 heavy stories in one day, you know? In 1 week, excuse me. And so, flash forward 2004. When I created the Vault of Metal, I needed a screen name to use, so DJ Raven the Devil was born. So that's where that started, but let's go ahead a year prior. I was playing Star Wars Galaxies. And on the server I was on, Wanderhome, there was Wanderhome Radio. And I listened one day, and I wanted to murder people, not for what they were playing, but because of what they were playing. It was like 8-bit soundtracks, country music, current late 90s, early 2000s pop music. Nothing that represented my interests. And me, at this point, almost 5 years hurt. I was frustrated. I missed being with bands and working with music. Come on, Vinny. Let me make my job. So there I was. And I figured, what the hell? I got nothing else to do. I'm playing this game for something to do because I couldn't get out of a chair. And so I applied. And I did a show. And I did really well. I did pretty good. I started getting mostly max servers within a couple of shows. Now, the following story, disclaimer here, folks. There's going to be a discussion using illicit substances. You've been warned. This is a story that has not been told publicly ever, except to DJs I've trained. And that story is as follows. My third or fourth show on Wonder Home Radio, Galaxy's Radio, I did a show called Sounds of the Empire. And back in this day, we were using Winamp. And if you hit the mouse wheel on Winamp, it would go from the music to your live mic and back. It was a really simple system. It was great when you were doing a video game, except if you were doing what I was doing at that time and hit the mouse wheel while you're loading back into the game you're DJing in. I did such a thing. And I was bored. I'd been 2 hours into the show. I was going through a rough breakup with my kid's mother at the time. And I just was trying to cheer myself up. So I was using my flower delivery system that holds water and bubbles and singing off key while drinking beer. And while doing those things, Judas Priest Screaming for Vengeance came on. So if you know the words, it's like screaming, screaming for vengeance, and he's going up real high. Well, you notice I just sing-songed it talking. I didn't do it at that time, wasn't trying to hit it right, and it was guaranteedly what sounded like I was doing a murder of a bag of cats. And when I got back into the game, I had about 70 people listening, and every one of them was messaging me, telling me to shut the F up, and what the hell was I doing, and this crap isn't funny, and I was done. I just went to music, and I logged out of the game, and I just let my show finish, passed, and I didn't log back in, and I sent out an email to the station head, who happened to be a Los Angeles DJ on radio in real life. And I resigned immediately. I quit. I was done, dying of embarrassment, humiliated. Wouldn't you know, the reply I got was, dude, if you quit, I will come to where you are and put you back on the air. That was one of the funniest things I've heard in a long time. Run with it, stick with it. So the shenanigans began of me doing sarcastic things on remote, like battle reporting in a video game. But then I went and saw Creator. And I tried to get them to interview for the show. And they laughed at me trying to explain, well, my screen name is this, but I go by this character name in this game, and got laughed at Jax. So I got really serious and wanting to find a station. I find a station called Hard Rock Radio Live. And the show, ironically, was started on a station called Hard Rock Radio Live. They had a couple of DJs there. It was Wrathchild Station and Rock Bitch, the late great Rock Bitch, running the place. And a couple other guys whose names, I'm sorry, guys, I've forgotten. It's been so long now. This is 2004 now. And I joined the station, create the show. Now, I find out through Rock Bitch and Wrathchild that Hard Rock Radio Live was originally in Sims 4. So the station started in video games out the gate. So amusing nonetheless. But this day in the internet era, I realize as well, maybe today's ratings for y'all, you know, on Facebook, 100,000 followers, 5,000 subscribers, you know, whatever you get. Back then, 7 people was a great day. One of my first shows, I hit 15 people, then 20, then 25. And I just ran with it. So did Ratchild. Rock Bitch had plenty of great advice for me. She had done some stuff with the radio in the past. And I just kept snowballing. And I picked up DJ Tombster. He was one of my first listeners, loyally. And within 2 weeks of me being on the station, I trained him to be a DJ. And within a few months, I was the manager of the station. Now, I'm probably going to call this Hard Rock Raven Live because that's what got me fired. Because I believed a live DJ was better than automation. So since I literally was disabled, sitting in a chair, raising an infant from a house, unable to work by myself and had nothing else to do, 12 hours a day was nothing for me. And I would jump on the air first thing in the morning and just stay on. I would run music when I had to take care of my kid. And I'd come back 6, 7, 8 songs later and talk and take requests and goof around. That's how Evil Santa was born, where I used the list to wipe my ass. And then the elves saying, "Can you smell him? Do you smell that? Have you been near him? Smells like the wrong end of a reindeer." And then the mayhem began. Hard Rock Radio Live. My first couple of episodes, my second or third interview I did was with Gary Kramer. Gary Kramer. Cessation Life was my first guest ever interviewed on my show. And their guitar player had just been given the Delta Wing guitar from Gary Kramer. So Gary Kramer, after submitting this giant list to him, I got the interview. And we talked, and he debuted the Delta Wing guitar on my show 6 months before it was on the market. So my third or fourth show already, I'm woohoo riding on my own coattails, going right to my ego. And then I got Neil Turbin, the first singer of Anthrax. And if DJ Speed King's still out there, he might post on this too. I was on the phone with him before this interview, and I was so bloody nervous. I drank 2 12-packs. And by the time Neil and I were on the phone together, I was always 2 sheets on the one waiting to get to 3. And he realized I was drinking early on. He started drinking with me for 3 more hours. One of the most metal interviews I've ever done, according to Neil Turbin. I don't remember a bloody minute of it. None of it. I remember taking the call. I remember getting the shout out of him. And after that, I don't remember nothing. There's a lot of interviews like this. Back then, they used to take bets to see if I'd pass out on the air. Seriously. And this was the early days of radio for me, 2004 to 2005. And I met a lot of great people. DJ Speed King was local in Richmond. My show started picking up right away. I started Full Spectrum Booking and Productions with Brandy and Fred Rock. We picked up bands like Crass Judgment. I kept getting better and better interviews. I started working with a man named Willie Forrest, a.k.a. Sasquatch. Willie, I know, there you go. You've been waiting for one of these. I've called you out now. But we had met in the 80s when I was traveling. Don't want to say any more. Willie, hear me here. Keep your mouth shut. Not trying to be mean. Just everyone in the story's dead. You don't need to keep telling it. I got no one to verify it. Okay? They're all gone. Let's drop it. You worked with me on the vault. Sorry, folks. Sometimes there's an inside joke. But Willie was my booker. Willie and Melba. I'm not going to give her real name. She can choose if she sees this to join in on the conversation. We did not end so well many years later. But needless to say, Willie and Melba made me look good. Willie took over the day-to-day bookings and email transactions because I was getting up at 5:30 in the morning and working till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning some days, but I would shut off the mic at 6 until 9 p.m. when my daughter went to bed to spend time with her and then go back to work. This is all I did because I believed in 2004 that this was my future, that I could make a living online being a DJ. And I busted my ass, but I also was dealing with the alcoholism back then. And then came the most epic thing, and I'm going to have to end it here because I just saw this has been almost 20 minutes. I don't want to talk for 2 hours on the first one. If we do this and you want me to flesh these stories out, let me know. Like, share, subscribe, get me to 1,000 people, and I'll start doing live streams on Saturday. But since it's Saturday, I'll go a little long anyways. But so around this time, I was hearing through the grapevine and my spies among the dissidents on Hard Rock Radio Live that people wanted me gone. That they didn't want me station manager anymore. They were saying that it was turning into Hard Rock Raven Live. I was everywhere. I was 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then on the weekends when I had nothing else to do and no one was on, I was on. There was no room for anybody else, but I was training people, and so were other people. DJ Metalord has gone on to terrestrial radio. He was one of the people that was in our sphere back then. He took over after me, and along with Speed King and some others. Tombster for a while, and then all these people, we all separated. We all went our separate ways. Because I went into syndication in 2005 with Metal Massacre Radio. Because of what I'm about to tell, and then we'll be done for the day. This is before SaveNet Radio, by the way, and this is right around the beginnings of Project Independent, both who I've had dealings with. And so at the end of 2005, I ironically, because, I thought I was crazy for a long time, I was seeing a therapist. And because of my accident, I was dealing with a lot of issues, and it was one of the things I had to do for the lawsuit I was trying to have. And I'd gone to my therapist and said I was having a bad vibe about this radio thing, but I really was dedicated to seeing the thing out. And I just had a bad feeling, and we talked, and I went to the store, and I got 2 cases of beer. I get back, I check my email. First thing I see is this is my last show, and after this, they're demoting me as station manager to regular DJ. All of my perks are removed, only my time slots. Stop doing what I'm doing. Tantamount to firing. And since we're not getting paid for any of this, what turned out to be one of the most epic moments in my career, I do not remember in the slightest, other than I did it. And another DJ on the station who I don't like to name because there's been 2 of them, and the first one's a scumbag, but the scumbag is one of the story. He ended up going to prison for doing stuff to kids. Not the first one, apparently, I've encountered. But DJ Metalhead recorded it and set it to the eye of the tiger. And what did I do? I proceeded to call up every single person on the station I knew was in the Get Me Fired pact, including my friends, including DJ Wrathchild. Now, I'll be telling stories about Wrathchild, so don't think I'm just glazing over Hard Rock Radio Live, because in 2007, right above me over here, is the flyer from the Brooklyn Metal Fest, where was one of the most interesting experiences. But where Wrathchild was there. But basically, Wrathchild's favorite thing was to delete DJs he fired off the station. Now, during this entire show, I was talking over music, something I never did. I was calling people out, and I was pounding the beer. And I told everybody, when the beer is gone, I'm gone. People were panicking because I had locked myself into the board and you couldn't get me out. And what did I do? Drank all my beer, proceeded to tell everyone in the world what I thought of it, and deleted myself off the station and hung up. This does not end the story with Hard Rock Radio Live, because less than a year later, I was back in syndication. That'll be a story for another time. But Metalhead copied all of the audio, lifted out the music I was playing and everything else. It took my best rants and insults and set it to Eye of the Tiger. I know out there is a copy. And this is to all of you friends from those days. If you've got it, I want it. Not because I'm mad about it. That's brilliant comedy from what I hear. I want brilliant comedy. I want to be able to play this as a memorial and at my funeral or someday. But needless to say, the first year was chaotic because I also was dealing with immobility issues. My daughter turning, almost 5, and dealing with in my head being broken and deficient, and I was punishing myself with alcohol at this time. Literally punishing. I would wake up and start drinking. Now, I wasn't a dependent alcoholic. I could go without it. I just chose not to. And a lot of bad things came of this, including the end of the relationship with her mother. This is again, talk about rational recovery. I admit my mistakes. But, yeah, the first year, I learned a lot. I learned a lot through all the people I talked to. I used what I knew from when I'd worked with bands, even if it was just club-level roadie stuff. And my passion for music. But I had another reason for creating the Vault of Metal. Dave Brockie and Guar were just starting to get popular, and I wanted to play more of their music because no radio station ever did. And the culmination of talking about the radio shows is going to finally end with what I was going to do months ago and talk about meeting King Diamond. The reason I started the Vault of Metal was to get an interview and possibly a picture someday and shake his hand. I got a fist bump. And that happened in November of last year, 2022. Thanks to Metal Chick, my former co-host. And so that's kind of where this project is right now. I'm still talking about stuff. If you guys got suggestions, leave me comments. If you like what I'm doing and want to see more, and you want to hear more about the radio days especially, I got hundreds of hours of media I could give you guys from that. As alone, just talking about all my favorite interviews and people that I've met and some of those experiences, which I intend to do. But you guys, let me know what you want to hear for another video. Do you want to hear another moral life lesson? Do you want to hear some ironies of life? I'm not going to give you stories that I can't remember the full story of unless I can get somebody who was there. And so far, everybody who's reached out, thank you. I didn't expect this old goat was going to get any responses right away. So I'll be back in just a little while. Don't forget, if you like what I'm doing, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back in just a little while.